warm virtual welcome to all of you joining us from across the African continent for this, our first in the series of unlocking UK real estate opportunities. Today, we embark on a journey to explore the boundless potential and opportunities that this market has to offer to African residents and investors. I am Ryan Gilburt, a private wealth manager with the Carrick Group, and I'm your host for today's session. Joining me is Mr. Tony Jordan, the Regional Director of Africa for API Global, a most trusted partner to both myself and the greater Carrick Group. In a world of ever-evolving financial landscapes and global connectivity, real estate investing has consistently proven to be a secure and lucrative path to financial prosperity. The United Kingdom, with its rich, vibrant culture, stable economy, presents a compelling destination for those seeking to diversify their investment portfolios and establish a foothold in this thriving market. This webinar, however, is not just about bricks and mortar. It's about empowerment, knowledge, and the keys to unlocking your own financial future. We understand that the decision to invest in international real estate is a significant one, often accompanied by questions and uncertainties. And our goal today is to provide you with the insights, expert guidance, and first-hand experiences that will help equip you with the information you need to make informed decisions. Over the following webinar series, we have gathered a panel of experts, industry insiders, and seasoned investors who will share their expertise and insights into the UK property market. We will leave no stone unturned in the pursuit of knowledge and wealth building opportunities. Whether you're a first-time investor looking for a secure place to grow your savings, an expat considering property back in the UK, or an experienced investor in search of new horizons, this webinar series is tailored to your unique needs and aspirations. By the end of this series, you will have a clearer understanding of the UK property market, its rewards, and the necessary tools to embark upon your property investing journey. We firmly believe that knowledge is the key to success, and today we open the doors to a world of opportunities. Once again, welcome. Let's begin this journey together. I'll now hand you over to Tony, who's going to give us some insights and some updates into the world of API over the last couple of months.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you very much for inviting me on the first of the webinar series. I'm very proud to be here, and over the last couple of months, as you say, it's been a very busy period for API and the Carrick partnership in Africa. We started visiting the offices, as I say, probably 3 months ago, reintroducing API and where we are currently providing UK, well, we think best-in-class UK investment opportunities, but more importantly, finding solutions for African clients, whether that be South Africans, your clients in Mauritius, whether it be Zimbabwe, Zambia, Johannesburg, wherever their offices for Carrick. We're obviously doing our end-to-end service for clients worldwide as API, but I think with the African market, with restrictions on certain continents, certain countries like Zimbabwe, we have to find a solution for the client, for that client journey, to make it as easy as possible to go through the process with API and Carrick and then buy in the UK property market. As I say, a busy week this week. We've just launched Waterhouse Gardens by Salboy. It is their flagship project they're launching this year, 500 plus apartments over 4 blocks. And we have launched officially today with Carrick Wealth, and this project will be available with everything else across all the offices. And I think what's important today is, as I say, we are a property company, but as I say, we're a solutions provider as well. And I think it's important to speak about our track record, the developers we work with, and how long we've been in business. I mean, the business was founded 10 years ago by Michael Layton. He's a fully accredited MRICS, which is a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. He was in commercial real estate and has worked for companies like CB Richard Ellis and DTZ in Hong Kong. And coming from a very regulated market like commercial property, Michael has brought that regulated mindset into an unregulated residential offering that API do. And over the last 10 years, we've grown the business, and now, as I say, got a global footprint of 9 strategically placed offices from South America all the way across to Asia to support our partners. It's important to mention that we're business to business, and we really value the relationship we have with Carrick in Africa and all our partners around the world. And basically, as a touch on API, or we secure and package market-leading property investments and solutions for our clients and for our partners. And equally, one of our biggest strings to our bow is Redstone Property Management. We will talk about Redstone on the next slide because I think it's a very important. There's three questions I get asked mainly from African clients, as basic as, can I invest in the UK? Can I get mortgage finance? And who's going to look after my asset when somebody's based in Cape Town or Mauritius? They're the three questions I ask. And obviously, yes, people can buy from all African countries in the UK. Yes, we have a panel of 82 different lenders through our partners at Visionary Finance, and Redstone are a key component to that property management.
Yeah, Tony, if I may, I think some anecdotal evidence, and definitely from experience that I've had walking clients through the journey and the process of investing into UK property, Redstone has been, pardon the pun, an absolute keystone to this process and to providing, I would say, comfort to investors in Africa, knowing that they've got an asset sitting in the UK and managed by experts. Could you please walk us through some of the services that Redstone provide?
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you totally. As I say, there are a lot of companies out there, our competition, that offer great projects in the UK. I think where we are now in the journey of API Global and the partnership with Carrick, which I'll touch on a little bit later, or a few slides later, but when we're offering clients, developers like Salboy, who offer 100% deposit protection, like Elevate Property Group and Invest In and Foreshore Group, who are all blue chip developers, I think we've got the product side very much sorted as best we can. We're always looking to improve. And I think that's why we've been so proud today to launch Waterhouse Gardens by Salboy, because of the job we've done over this year with viaducts that sold very well in Africa, and Victoria House. But as you say, touching on Redstone, it's been a long journey to build up to, I believe, with just over 650 properties under management now. They're investors who have bought either off plan or ready properties and then entrusted Redstone to manage that asset for them wherever they are in the world. And we truly offer an end-to-end service from starting to advertise for tenants, probably 3 to 4 months pre-completion. The mortgage process starts about 6 months out, but the actual tenant finding 3 to 4 months out, we'll partner with one of our partners in the UK, which is Countrywide. They have 2,200 offices all over the UK. So wherever we launch a project, we've generally got an office very close by. We'll do the credit checks on the potential tenants for the investor. Obviously, at the moment, we're getting probably 3 to 4, maybe 5 applicants per apartment that we put on the market, because the demand for rental property in the UK is very high at the moment. We've seen massive increases in places like Birmingham and Manchester over the last year, upwards of over 20% increase in the rents. One of the projects we sold very well last year, we handed over the Waterhouse on the River Irwell in Manchester by the Foreshore Group. The first one beds went on the market at £900, and the last one bedroom rented out for 11. So the rental market, like the sales market, is progressing very, very well, and a very strong rental market. So once we do the credit checks, the client will have the final decision who he puts in his apartment. And again, when I want to stress that fact, we're seeing a lot of tenants at the moment negotiating longer term rental periods instead of just signing up for a year, because of the supply and demand imbalance in the rental properties, certainly in these city centres where we have our projects. So a client may offer £1,000 for one bed, but he might offer £950 but sign up for 2 or 3 years, and then obviously the client has to make that decision. Yeah. So once we've secured a client, the management company will do the snagging with the developer and make sure the property is ready for handover on practical completion. We will furnish the apartment. We have a design team as well if the investor wanted the apartment furnished and designed. We will then collect the keys from the developer, we'll put the tenant in place, and then on a monthly basis, we'll collect the rent, pay the bills, and send the return to the nominated bank, generally where the mortgage finance comes out of. So as you can see, that's what you talk about with your clients, is the fact that we have many happy clients who buy through API and Carrick, but equally the process doesn't end when we get to the point of completion. So, yeah. And again, I think I'll just go through, which, as I said, we're 10 years in business this year, and we have a 10-stage end-to-end service. And this, from the business point of view, we've heavily invested in, certainly over the last 2 to 3 years, in the sales progression team, the lettings and management. We brought our trusted partners on at Visionary Finance for the mortgage support. And first and foremost, we're a research-led business. There has to be a reason why we pick the locations and work with the developers that we do. You touched on earlier on about the macro and the micro point of view. When we look at different locations and we start in discussions with developers, but this looks at maybe the company migration, supply and demand imbalance, educational, student retention. This goes all into that overall picture of selecting a particular area that we're looking to put clients into. Sourcing the projects is very important, as Carrick and our partners are wealth managers and licensed business. We take the due diligence very seriously and go through a 121-point checkpoint before we even present the projects to Craig and the investment team at Carrick. And that's everything from a planning permission in place, Section 106s, developer funding. There's been a spade in the ground. We don't like selling anything that's just a piece of land. There has to be some movement on site. So the due diligence and research that goes in can be anywhere between 6 months and a year before you guys even see it. And then the investment advice, as I say, I've been in the industry for nearly 20 years. I've sold international property for 17 of those years. I'm from the UK. I know the UK, even though I look after Africa. That is my territory now for API. And I'd like to touch on the sales progression team because, as I say, the business is heavily invested into this team. And we looked at the client journey. We looked at all the efforts we put into the market research and the sourcing of the projects. We've got industry professionals across the globe in all our offices. But then once a reservation is done on a particular project, it then becomes the client journey through to completion, and then from a lettings and management point moving forward. So the sales progression team are a real key team within API. There's a couple of people sit in the London office, and to service Dubai, Africa and Asia, we've got 2 or 3 people who sit in the Dubai office. And what these guys do is, from a reservation, take the client to exchange of contracts, which is normally within a 30-day period. And they are a conduit for the developer's solicitor, their own solicitor, the mortgage team, lettings and management team, the wealth manager, myself as a consultant. So as you can see, this was all developed from a point of view of clients coming in after a pretty stressful day at work, like we all have, and having 7 or 8 different emails from different people coming in at one time. Yeah. So these provide a conduit to the client to make that progression as seamless as possible. So legal support, we work with 4 or 5 leading law firms in the UK to do the conveyancing for the client. Again, some of my clients have their own legal teams because they're building major portfolios in the UK, but we always recommend our team. They've done the due diligence on the development, as we have done, and they've done the due diligence on the developer. So the process is always a little bit seamless, more seamless if we use the preferred solicitors. Construction updates, again, it's another area of the business that we've heavily invested into. We have people on the ground that go onto site regularly. We get construction videos, we get walkthrough videos of particular apartments, we get drone footage. The developers we work with are very good anyway. They provide us with regular updates. We do a quarterly update for our partners and our clients, but there isn't really a week goes by where we don't have an update from on site. So that side of the business, to keep that client who may be in South America, maybe in Mauritius, maybe in Hong Kong, updated through different time zones of what's actually happening with their investment. And as I touched on mortgage support, we work with the guys at Visionary very closely. I work with Faye, she's an expert on the mortgage market and international. Currently, depending on what location you get, obviously everybody's heard and seen in the news, inflation's been quite high in the UK. We don't dodge from that, but equally there are mortgage products out there for people. As I say, when we get through the presentation, there's a little slide on the power of leverage.
Sure.
So we have access to 82 different lenders, probably not 82 in Africa, but we do have access to at least half a dozen mortgage companies, and even in places like Zimbabwe and Zambia, where it's a little bit harder to get mortgage finance, we're still managing to get 55-60% loan to value at about 8%. Now, I was on the call with one of the clients from the Zambia office yesterday, and he asked me what rate I could offer. He was on a ready property, and I said, we're looking at about 8% at the moment, but we're hoping that inflation is going to come down and move the rates. The mortgage market is very competitive at the moment, so the banks need to lend money. That's their business. And he said, well, 8% sounds good to me, Tony. I'm paying 26 on my mortgage at the moment in Zambia. And actually, he got a personal loan for his car, and he was paying 35% on that. So even though we're at higher rates than we have been, I think it's very important for me to point out the fact that mortgage finance is still available. And equally, people are investing into UK property as an asset class, as a medium to long-term investment, as opposed to, so we're going to have a little bit of short-term pain, but the mortgage team are working with products that there are no sort of early penalty clauses. They can talk to the client. We start this process normally 6 months before completion. Even with ready property, we'll start that process when a reservation's done, and we'll find the best product, like we do from a property point of view, for that individual client. It's not one mortgage product or one property fits all. And I think that's why we're having so much success with Carrick at the moment, is due to Craig and the investment team signing off the different projects, as I've touched on, from entry-level products with Elevate in Derby and Nottingham with Muller's Yard, 4 projects in Birmingham, 4 projects in Manchester. And then down to our London stock with Galliard Homes, anywhere between 500,000 and up to $1 million with Clooney Mews in Kensington. So we have a product for everybody, and equally we'll have a mortgage product for everybody who wants to use leverage. The completion phase we touched on with the lettings and management team, Redstone. As I said, it's a very big, important aspect to our business, and with over 650 happy clients that are being looked after and being managed for our clients all around the globe. It's a great asset to API and to Carrick. And then obviously we have our sort of optimization after sales. It is an investment. I get asked regularly about what is the exit. I get asked regularly about how long should I hold the asset, and it's really down to personal circumstances, not necessarily the property. As long as the property is going up in value and the client's individual circumstances are okay, we recommend that the client, that investors hold the property as long as possible to maximize the returns.
Yeah, I think, Tony, we'd mentioned a couple of times there and touched base on the due diligence that takes place, both from an API and a Carrick point of view, and obviously together from the investment team. But I've obviously been fortunate enough to see some of the due diligence and the market research that really goes into identifying both areas and then specific developments. Could you perhaps give us some color or shine some light on what that might include when identifying properties and developments for clients?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, I touched on it there with the 10-stage step, but there is Michael, as I touched on, the owner of the business, Lewis Finn, our sales director, Ross Gardner, who's head of product, the developers we work with. There is hours and hours go into actually working with the developers, identifying the right locations, doing all the research into what is actually happening in these cities. Very often we're ahead of the curve. Like I say, it's been very easy. As I say, I've been in UK investment property for 17 years, and up to 2012, 13, didn't sell anything outside of London. Then all of a sudden your Northern Powerhouse initiative came in from the government. We started looking at regional cities like Birmingham and Manchester. We've had a lot of success in places like Ashford in Kent, Coventry, and now we sort of 2 years ago did the first phase in Trent Bridge Quays with Elevate in Nottingham. And if you go on Zoopla now, Nottingham is one of the major hotspots for UK investment property. And as I say, we were probably the first to sell Nottingham internationally with Elevate 2 years ago. So Muller's Yard is a great offering. It's below market price. And equally with Derby, with Silk Yard, another Elevate property, 2-minute walk from the city centre. We believe Derby with the Rolls-Royce, Toyota factories, all the fundamentals are in place to make these what we call secondary cities more in line with your Birminghams and Manchester in the next 5 to 10 years. But like you said, sort of research and market indicators we look at. The big thing has been with the UK government is to take the heat off London, sort of the levelling up. In fact, I saw there was a new levelling up minister announced this week. So hopefully she'll keep that initiative going. But company migration is one that has been a big factor over the last few years. We saw HSBC move from Canary Wharf, their headquarters, up to Birmingham. We saw the BBC move a few years ago up to Media City and Salford Quays in Manchester. ITV are there now. We look at both cities. When I talk about Birmingham and Manchester, the figures, the returns are pretty similar in city centre locations. But we sort of look at Manchester as more of a techie city, with Media City and Salford Quays, and Birmingham more as a second financial centre outside of London. Government regeneration is a big thing. I mean, already 600 million has been pumped into the Northwest alone this year. That's government money putting into certain areas to regenerate these areas with infrastructure, hospitals, schools, to attract more people into these sort of inner city areas. Infrastructure investment, obviously HS2. For all the people who've doubted whether that's going to happen, it's probably going to be delayed, but it's definitely happening. The last time I was in the UK, I saw the sort of signs, and we've seen the stations being built. That's going to make a major difference to Birmingham when that opens up. Travel time is going to be down under an hour. Currently, it's about an hour and a half. I think it's going to be 49 minutes, and obviously then it's going to go up through Manchester. Private investment going into shopping centres, schools, and facilities, and then. Look, these are all very, very important factors when we look into securing developments with developers, sort of launching new areas into the international marketplace. But the one factor we're never going to get away from in the UK is the supply and demand imbalance. And I think any mature market, if you look at New York in America, you look at Paris, you look at Sydney in Australia, Hong Kong in Asia, and certainly the UK, the supply and demand imbalance has been created over a long period of time. There's 300,000 houses needed in the UK per year, and we've never reached half of that. So every year it falls further and further behind. And I think the average age now, first-time buyer in the UK, is about 34, which again is fueling the rental market. We're seeing graduates and university with the retention rates in Birmingham and Manchester being at about 50%. A lot of more people, once they graduate, are staying in these cities, and obviously need somewhere to live. Same with the company migration. And this is increasing the supply and demand imbalance. Look, there's something we do at API, and I know Carrick are on the same pages. We don't hide away from the fact that the world is in the last couple of years with first we had Brexit, then we had COVID. Now we've got a war going on in Ukraine. We've got all the issues with Trump over in America. We've always got China on the horizon the other way. So the world's not in the best place it's ever been. Certainly the UK, with the inflation rates where they are, affecting sort of the interest rates at the banks. But the one fundamental factor with this asset class that people will be looking at in Africa to buy into the UK, you've got the supply and demand imbalance to keep the price increases going. The rental market is very strong. And obviously, certainly for South African investors, we're seeing a massive influx at the moment buying into the UK pound. The rand is, because of the grey listing that South Africa's unfortunately on at the moment, we've seen massive decreases in the rand. I mean, I think against the pound over the last 5 years, it's decreased by 25%. Yeah. So buying into UK properties, a property probably in Camps Bay even on the currency exchange, you're going to make a very good return by buying pounds and into the UK market. Just to touch on sort of, again, our global footprint. And again, this is to support our partners. Head offices in London. This is where the investment team sit that source all the projects. Our operations team sit there as well. We have an office in Europe to service our partners there. Sao Paulo, actually, while we're talking, we actually have just opened a new office in Chile. Okay. The lady who's going to be running the Chile office in Santiago is here in Dubai this week. And obviously, I've got boots on the ground in Nairobi. We've got Clayton, who services the Johannesburg and Durban office, and I look after Cape Town. Dubai offices service the GCC, where we're going to be at the Cityscape. Saudi Arabia next week. All the team who are based in Dubai are off there. And I'll be back in Cape Town on the 15th of September. And then obviously Hong Kong and Kuala Lumpur service South and Northeast Asia. So as you can see, we've grown the business over the last 10 years. And again, my main focus is obviously with Carrick and our main partner in Africa. And we look forward to growing that relationship. And as I said, the last 3 months have been very busy with office visits, product launches. And I think over, as you know, with the sales that we've had over the since my last visit across the different offices, it's very encouraging to see where we're going. Again, just to touch on a few of our partners, as I took Salboy, again, we're very proud to have that relationship with the guys up in Manchester. They're regarded as the top developer in the Northwest. They're only a developer who offer 100% deposit protection, which I think is very important from a risk point of view for African clients. And in layman's terms, what that means is we select a particular project with Salboy. We go through the consultation and make sure that the particular development, location and budget is right for the client, along with you, the wealth manager. And once we do a reservation, we get the client to exchange of contracts. And with Salboy, it's 25% of the purchase price. And then depending on the particular development, like Viaducts and Victoria House are ready Q2 2023, but the new launch today, Sky Gardens, is 2 years away. So that 25% is 100% deposit protected under the Salboy brand. And that's deposit protection is actually put in place by the owner of Salboy, which is a guy called Fred Doan, who actually owns Betfred in the UK. We work with Elevate. We've done 9 different projects in the UK with Elevate. Investing, we've got the Boulevard in Birmingham and Foreshore Group. We had the highly successful Pavilion Wharf last year. And obviously, you can see Carrick brand down there, which we're very proud of.
Tony, just onto the power of leverage there. Over the last, I'd say 6 months to 12 months, we've heard mortgages obviously be raised quite a bit during today's webinar. What have we seen in terms of trends between cash buyers, which we have seen quite a bit of, and most definitely is an option? But what sort of trends have we seen between cash buying and I'd say clients and individuals relying on mortgages to enter the UK market?
Yeah, I think that's area specific. I think we see when I visit Zim and Zambia, for different reasons, a lot of people, certainly in Zimbabwe, are sitting on cash and looking to put it into UK pounds. And most people know property and like property. They understand it. And when we've talked them through the services that Carrick and API offer, it's a lot easier process than they thought. And we do get a lot of clients who talk about buying in cash. And I always say it's down to the individual client. Generally, I like to push the power of leverage, because I'll talk through this sort of very basic analogy in a minute. This is based on a 75% mortgage at 5% interest rate. But I think it's down to the individual client and the advice we give that client. Now, if the client tends to be a little bit older and is sitting on some cash and wants to buy a UK investment property for income and a yield, which means the rental income against the purchase price gives you your gross yield, that may be the best option for that client, because he's looking for an income each month, probably to subsidise a pension or an investment plan he's got with Carrick. Generally, if it's somebody younger, I would always advise clients to go with leverage. As you see there, we're talking about a £300,000 property, and you put £300,000 in cash, it grows to 350,000. Your overall return on your investment with your rental income and your capital appreciation is just under 17%. But if you do the same with a mortgage, you can see growing to the same value, but you only put £100,000 in cash and you leverage the 200 of it. Your return is up to 50%.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where I pride myself with being in the industry for 17 years, is the fact that each client I view is different. They have different buying criteria, they have different budgets, they have different age, they have different family situations. So that's where that initial consultation comes in with yourself when you put when you refer a client across, is that we do the first meeting where they have a clear understanding of what Carrick and API can offer the client, and equally for me to have a clear understanding of everything that the client requires and wants to achieve from investing into the UK.
Perfect.
Okay, just we're getting to the last few slides. I hope we're not boring everybody, but with the first one, we wanted to keep it as educational as possible instead of just running through product after product. Ryan has all the information on the properties that we do, and we'll finish off with that. But again, I put this slide in because I'm meeting more and more clients. The first time I went into Zimbabwe was 2019. Craig sent me up there after doing a managers meeting in Cape Town, and I'd never been into Zimbabwe, and boom, off it went, and we've never looked back since, really. But again, I'm meeting clients now who I met then, and that one they can't believe actually properties in Manchester and Birmingham now probably start at 220,000 for a city centre 1-bed and 300 plus for a 2-bed. And equally, when I show them the fact that if you wait even at 5% per annum on a £250,000 property, you can see the increase over a 10-year period. Now, I'm talking about a 5-year period from when I first started going into Zimbabwe. So it's very important to stress to clients that, and I have a lot of clients, especially from the region I'm from Dubai, who talk about 5%. Oh, I can get 8 or 9. It's like, well, 5%, I would rather have as a steady income on a nice growth every year than sort of doing the up and down that different areas of the world do. So again, the delay of investing is costing people money, especially with using the power of leverage. And as I say, this first of the webinar series is about educating clients in that they can buy in the UK, we can leverage it, and you can make significant returns, and you buy in UK pounds. So I think these are the messages that we're getting across today. And again, I just really wanted to finish off the last couple of slides with, again, for the first time investor listening in today, on the different properties really that we offer. We do ready property, which we would class as a completed unit, and we do ready properties that are income generating, which means we have tenants already in situ, and we have below market price ready properties, and we have off plan. So they're the three: off plan, ready, and below market value. That was the business plan this year. And again, down to the fact that the boss has a family member who runs Blue Crest Capital, a guy called Mike Platt. He doesn't mind me using his name. And we have an allocated fund for below market stock of £250 million, where we can go into the market and we can buy stock at below market prices and pass that on to the investors through Carrick. We launched our first below market stock in Sky Gardens a few weeks ago. We put 35 units on the market. They were between 15 and 20% behind market price, and we sold them out in 24 hours. So it's become quite a big string to our bow when we're offering clients. The next 2 tranches of Manchester are coming, and we've just launched Cliveden House by Elevate Property, a ready property on the river, on the water in central Birmingham, that has tenants in situ, so it's income generating. And this is between 15 and 20% again behind market price. So ready stock, off plan, slightly different ways the process. Off plan, pick the unit, KYC, as I've said, introduction to the decision exchange contracts within 28 days, the construction updates through the build period, 6 months before we start the mortgage application. On completion, pay remaining balance and closing cost, handover, and then tenant sourcing with Redstone and receive your monthly rent. So actually, in layman's terms, what that means, like Waterhouse Gardens we launched today, you can pay the 20 or 25% exchange monies within 30 days of the reservation, and then you don't pay anything till completion. Now, where this suits a lot of clients in Africa is they have enough for the deposit, but like with Waterhouse Gardens, that's just over 2 years away, it gives them a 2-year period to save money for the back end payment or cash investments in and get ready. So it gives them breathing space.
Yeah.
The other major factor why we're so excited with Waterhouse Gardens is the fact because it's just under 2.5 years away, we have the deposit protection. And obviously 2 years down the line, we're hoping that inflation has really come down in the UK. Therefore, 6 months before completion, clients should be really getting attractive interest rates again for their leverage. So off plan plus buying at a discount, off plan as opposed to a ready property that's gone through that process and seen a 5% increase either 1 or 2 years before completion. And obviously, we have a lot of clients who don't want the risk of off plan. I think we've alleviated that with our partnership with Salboy with 100% deposit protection. So working with Salboy is the closest thing we're going to get to virtually no risk on off plan. But equally, some clients, and certainly cash buyers, want completed units, which means they have to exchange and complete simultaneously, put the tenant in and then collect the rent. So it's a little bit more cash intensive because you exchange and complete. But again, there is no risk with a completed project. It's bricks and mortars there. And equally, the below market value stock that we have and have coming gives the client a chance to start their investment way behind where the actual market price is. Okay. So they're the 3 different types of properties we're offering at the moment.
Tony, I see, just if I take a look at who's joined us today, there are 2 or 3 clients who have built up a portfolio of properties, different cities by the looks of things. What sort of strategies or advice would we have for clients sitting on an existing portfolio of apartments or properties in the UK?
Well, again, we have our optimization team, which once a client either one property, a portfolio of properties. That's because I've been in the industry so long. I have a lot of my clients, and certainly clients in Africa, who own multiple properties and bought with me over the years, or have set out a strategy to put in place, buying multiple properties over a 3 to 5 year period. That's something that I'm very proud to have done with African clients, is to sort of optimize their portfolios, and not only putting in place a plan to buy properties, equally is whether we remortgage and release equity. We can release up to 75% of the equity in a property. So if a client has a property in the UK or anywhere in the world, we get the visionary finance we get a valuation on that property, and if there's £100,000 worth of equity in there, we can take 70,000 out and reinvest it into maximizing that client's portfolio. So it is a speciality that we do, and certainly I've done with many clients in Africa. So it is an important part of the business that, as I say, once a client completes and Redstone manage it, we don't just forget about the client. It's equally, and we have a new portal coming very soon that's got AI that clients will be able to have access to, and it will have an update onto where the market is with their particular property, what they paid, what equity they have in it, what increase they've had in their rental income over whether a 1 year period or a 5 year period. So they'll have full visibility to their investments through our AI property portal.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Okay, I think that's about wraps it up. Have we any questions, Ryan?
Yeah, I do have a couple here that's come through during the session. I might start with perhaps the easiest for us, from Joseph in Cameroon, asking what sort of occupancy rates we've seen in apartments that we've obviously advised and assisted clients on over the last 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, it's I think currently Redstone figures at about 98%. and that varies from month to month depending on what we're completing on. There are very few voids. I believe the last time I spoke to Tom at Redstone, the actual time an apartment takes, once they put it on the market, is between 3 and 5 days before they get the contract signed, which is very quick.
Yeah.
And I think the 2% is just a bit of leeway for when we hand over a block, say whether it's between 40 and 100 units. The 2% over being 100% occupancy is the ones that we just wait. Some people move in at weekends, some people move at week. But the underlying factor on the rental market is we've seen massive gains, as everybody has, not just API in the UK. The rental market is very strong, but again, the strength of Redstone and the reach that we have throughout the UK, we're finding tenants quickly, and the occupancy levels are very high across all our projects.
Okay, and then a potential follow-up there from Mohammed in Ghana, asking if there are any and what opportunities we currently have available for investors to take a look at.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think when me and you first started talking about our first webinar, it was going to be from an educational point of view. Hopefully people have got the message of who API are and Carrick Wealth. It's very important that they understand that the partnership we have, your wealth managers, very well respected across all the offices, and where you're sourcing a partner who sources you the best in class UK property investments, but equally put an umbrella up for Carrick clients to come underneath with the end-to-end service. Now, as I've said, every client is different. I've touched on the different projects we have. As I said, we've got 4 in Manchester, we have 4 in Birmingham, we have 1 in London, currently 2 in London. From Zone 2 and Zone 1, we have Watford, which is commutable, 14 minutes into central London, Derby, Nottingham. We've just launched Waterhouse Gardens with Salvoy, the developers work with. What I would say, Ryan, is please, anybody on this webinar, reach out to Ryan. His contact details there and phone number. I've worked with Ryan for many years. We have a lot of very happy clients together. Reach out to Ryan. Ryan will book a Zoom meeting for me to jump onto, where I'll find out your individual buying criteria, investment criteria, and then we'll talk about the projects that we've got that fit that criteria. I say it's very important for me and API and Carrick that it's the investment advice that we give fits the individual client, not the project fits the client. It's sort of that's what I'd sort of reach out to everybody on the call. And from my point of view, Ryan, thank you very much for inviting me on, and thank you for everybody on the webinar. I hope everybody's find it very informative. As I said, reach out to Ryan, and now I'm available 7 days a week to jump on any calls and timeframes. I'll be back in Cape Town 15th of September, and I'm around in Africa until early November. So thank you very much, Ryan.
No, Tony, I think from our side, a massive thank you, Paul. I think the insights, the expert advice and inputs that you've had for us today is invaluable and really does go a long way into assisting both myself and the investors on the call with the knowledge that they would require in terms of purchasing an asset such as this in the UK. As mentioned before, this was a introduction into UK property, the first in a series of webinars that we'll be running between Tony and myself with a panel of experts. That will give us even more detailed information into available opportunities moving forward. This webinar has been recorded and will be sent through to everyone, along with an invitation to the next. So Tony, from my side, a massive thank you and a big thank you to everyone on the call. Looking forward to hearing from all of you.
Thank you, Ryan. Take care.
Cheers then, Tony.
Thank you.